Hello everybody and welcome. I'm the GroundedGliscor, your favorite Iron Ball and Poketuber of this channel, and I want to welcome you to this video, which is going to be the draft analysis from me to you guys for the Alola International Season 5. I'm proud to announce I'm your coach, GroundedGliscor, coach of your Low Land Quakes, and as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be the draft analysis for the Alola International Season 5. So, looking back at how the channel went. Actually, we were not doing so hot. I stopped another time, and that was more to the lack of motivation that I had for the channel. That was more so that I felt more forced to actually. I felt more forced to upload and have a video schedule ready for you guys to continuously upload, and it took a lot of me to actually continue and whatnot. So that's why I stepped away from that and stopped YouTube in itself, just to have a bit better of a playground later on if I wanted to return. So we are indeed returning, and this is just the announcement video and the draft analysis in one. I want to quickly say that this channel is now going to move forward with just draft league content, which is going to contain the battles and whatnot, and just draft analysis and whatnot. For now, I want to see what you guys' response is and how well you will receive it, and also the feedback that I get on it, just to see how much you like it. So for now, I will start with uploading the Alola International itself. For the people that know me or are not familiar to the channel, I am now the owner of the Alola International since Season 2 onward. I'm the commissioner then, and I've been running this league since Season 2 onward to Season 5 currently. So far we are having a blast, and for the guys that actually missed the history of us being in the Alola International, I will talk you right through it in 1 second. So, currently we're in Season 5, Season 2, and Season 1 we made playoffs, but unfortunately we were losing in the playoffs, and that also happened, I thought, for Season 3, because we had a team that I was not feeling too comfortable with, but then in the end, it all came down and I won the championship of Season 3. Going into Season 4, shortly after actually, because we wanted to keep moving, we eventually had a really good team and whatnot that I felt a bit more comfortable with. People found it a bit odd, the things that I drafted, but in the end it worked out, so I claimed another championship in Season 4, so I'm back-to-back champion, and I need to defend my title in Season 5 right now, and I hope you will see why I'm the champion in the battles that we're going to have. May not be the best. I will not have the best preps each week. I will not play all my games perfectly, but this league is just to be fun and just enjoy yourselves and whatnot. And if you get mad about plays, that's fine. Just tell me, but do not spread negativity in the comments or whatever, or in person to me or whatever, something like that. So, without further ado, I'm gonna talk you through each picks that I have for the Alola International. I will go through them by one, why I chose them, what my thought process was behind each and every pick, and then eventually also tell if I was sniped or not and what I was aiming for. So, I'm not running Season 5 alone. I have 3 admins by my side this time around as well. We're running the league, each has their own division, and then take care of their division, so on and so forth. And I let somebody else do the draft order this time around, and I let a buddy of mine do that. So, after the randomization, we noticed that I was actually second overall. And for the people that do not know how we do it in the league, I'll go over that right now. We're gonna have a snake draft, and that means that we were going from 1 to 16, and then from 16 to 1, and then you continue like that to each person has 11 Pokemon. The things that we drafted from are based from tier lists, created based on our own interpretation as well, and what we felt we could allow and ban and whatnot. So we have like tier 1 to tier 5, and then we have 3 separate mega tiers, or 4, I believe 4. We have tier 1 to 5, which is 180, 120, 100, 60, and 40 points. And you have the mega tier list from 0, minus 40, minus 60, and minus 80, which gives you then points back in advance. Each team has 1,000 points, and then 400 of those points will be used on extra picks, or and that actually means that you can, for example, from the list it says that you must draft only 1 tier 1, but due to your extra free points you can make it actually happen that you can have 2 or 3 tier 1s, depending on your point limit, of course. And this can be added up by the mega that you choose. Like, for example, if I would choose a mega from the tier 4 list of the mega evolutions, then I would have 480 points to spend instead of the 400. We also had separate points for the Z users. Each Z user, depending on what their tier are from, can be drafted for a total of 100 points. Like, for example, after the draft, I want to say that I have a Goodra that I want to make my Z user. That would cost me like 50 points because it's a tier. That would cost me 60 points because it's a tier 2 mon. So pretty much from the Z points are the half of the tier that they originate from, or something like that, close to, something like that. But anyway, if you have questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. But now we're 6 minutes in, and I think it's a good thing to actually get started on this draft. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was second overall in the draft, so that would mean that the person before me picks one, I pick one, and then I needed to wait all the way back to pick number 16, and then all the way back up to pick number 2 before I could choose again. So I was really sitting down and thinking what I should grab and what I should draft and whatnot, and what could actually be on my team that I wanted. I was also, every time when I draft, I wanted to look at stuff that I did not use or use a long time ago. That way I keep my drafts entertaining for myself as well as for now you guys, and that I can improve in learning new mods for the format as well. So I was thinking of what I could actually get, and I see really good mods going by, and I thought eventually by myself I would take one of the megas that is newly allowed this season, and I'm gonna go with Megaladios. The reason why I decided on the Megaladios is more that I love more a bulky offensive playstyle, and Megaladios fits those criteria pretty well. Also due to the moves that it has, like the support moves and whatnot. It gets Healing Wish, I believe it gets Wish as well, so that would mean they have a Wish passer in that regard. It is a Dragon Psychic type, so it has a lot of coverage. And then of course with its stats that can be boosted up by Calm Mind, so that base 80 HP with that 150 special defense boosted up by Calm Mind even more, and invest a little bit more in the defense, which is 120. And then do not forget that Megaladios also has 140 base special attack, which is just going to be a nuke. Some people are of the opinion that Megaladios and Megaladios are a little bit less good than their non-Mega Evolved forms due to their restrictions on items, because you're forced to keep the Mega Stone and Mega Evolve, so you cannot use Z moves or Mega Stones, and Z moves and then Soul Dew and regular items, that kind of stuff. So that's mostly why I chose Megaladios, just because of the bulk and also the great speed tier that I have him around 1 pick. So without further ado, let's actually head into my second pick. So it did not take long at all before I actually got to pick again. So it took like 3 picks, well 2 picks, because I picked and then the person in front of me picked twice, and then it was my turn again. So on the way back, I was really thinking about how I could complement Megaladios in what regard. And I really knew that I would need a fairy if I wanted to actually Megaladios shine. And looking at what was left in the draft at this point in terms of fairies, I was like, there's quite a lot left. But I did notice that this specific mon was still free by the end it came back to me. And keep in mind guys, this is pick number 33, 34, so that's for me pretty late, because I'm used to that this mon always gets picked like in the first couple rounds. But anyway, because of Megaladios, I wanted to grab a good fairy, and I thought by myself I would grab Clefable. So Clefable, in my opinion, is a very good fairy type, has been quite a while since I used it, but it has 2 good abilities in Magic Guard and Unaware, and Unaware and Magic Guard are the ones that do it for me in terms of the fairy typing, because I do know that people want to wear down Megaladios as much as they can, with for example Toxic and whatnot, but with Magic Guard I do not care for your Toxic. I could just block, I do not block the Toxic, I take the Toxic, I do not take damage for Magic Guard, and I just still can heal bell it off if I ever need to, if Latios for example gets Toxic. So I get a good Cleric as a fairy type for my team right now. It is also good, pretty offensive, it has a good wide move pool because it was a normal type before X and Y, so that's also pretty good. His speed is a bit lackluster, but base 60 for me for a wall is still good. And especially since also Clefable has the option to also run Calm Mind Unaware. What Calm Mind Unaware does for the people that do not know, that means that I can still Calm Mind up, and then the people against me can Calm Mind up too, but I ignore their boost and whatnot, so I take less damage, so we are not in a so I'm not gonna get into that Calm Mind War or something. That's pretty much why I took Clefable, and now let's move on to the third Pokemon. So as I mentioned earlier, I needed to wait quite a bit before I could actually take my third Pokemon overall, and I was really thinking that I should now complement my Dragon Fairy Steel Core, and I was like, okay, which Steel type would complement my Clefable and Latias best? And I was still thinking, okay, maybe I could grab a Tier 2, because it's a bit too early for Tier 3, but then in Tier 3 and Tier 4, they're not quite the Steel types that I was looking for at the time. I took a look at Klefki, but then I noticed that I had Clefable, so that was not a good one in my opinion. And then I noticed that Scizor was still free back in the round that I was able to pick it. So that meant I got I got Scizor for my third round pick, and that is really good for me in my opinion, because it still has base 65 speed, so it's a bit faster than Clefable, but still has that Technician Bullet Punch from a base 130 attack mon, which is still huge, and also has pretty good defenses as well. People who are longer on the channel know that I've used Scizor in a while. I've actually used it Season 1 as a regular Scizor from a free agency trade, and then in Season 2 I actually got it as a Mega Evolution. So I want to give it now back to the normal form because it can run more items and whatnot, and this gives me a second Defogger with U-turn and reliable recovery as well, and then the priority and baton pass access too. So that's mostly the stuff that did it for me for Scizor. I really love the Pokemon, and especially with the Technician ability, which makes me allow, for example, Natural Gift uses and Hidden Power uses. Swarm is not that good of an ability. Light with Metal could be a thing, but most likely I'll be running Technician each and every week, but you will be surprised. Anyway, let's continue on to our fourth pick. So for the fourth pick overall, I was actually thinking from what can I actually use to complement the team type synergy wise. Because I like a good draft where there's also type synergy, mainly for the reason that I then have more room to actually expand on some more common types and do not need to worry about weaknesses. So at this point I noticed there was quite a Ghost weakness, and I was like, okay, I need something that can check Ghost offensively. Not defensively, but offensively, mainly for the reason that if a Ghost would burn my Dark type, if it's physical, then I would be in a pickle, mainly for the reason that I potentially cannot break through that Ghost. Also, Ghost at priority, and I wanted to resist to the most of the priority in Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak that Ghost types have, and then also grab another mon that has good reliable speed, and that's why I decided to grab Greninja. So Greninja is my round 4 pick, and the reason why I mostly took it is mostly why I explained it before, but also because of its versatility. Because it's really versatile and is move pool and whatnot, and especially since I made it my Z move user from the Z points that I mentioned earlier, this makes me able to have a good reliable breaker. And keep in mind this Greninja is Torment, not Protean, so that's also a thing. But the thing I like about Greninja is his base 95 attack, 103 special attack, and his base 122 speed. Also, this gives me another priority user in Water Shuriken from Greninja, and then the Bullet Punch from Scizor. And this also starts a combo for me for potentially Hazard attack, because I have Toxic and Toxic Spikes to my disposal right now with Greninja. Also, Greninja is a fast mon that can have Taunt, it can have Haze as well, so that's also things you need to think about, and this also is a second U-turner for me, which could help out really well. So, let's actually drop Greninja for now, and let's actually move on to the next pick. So eventually, when the wheel came back up to me, I was really thinking about what I should get, and I was really thinking I should get a mon that could reliably switch into the grass types and whatnot, could do reliable with fairy types outside of Scizor, and then also have a way to strike back fire types really well offensively outside of Greninja. And also because this thing has more hazards than I could ask for, because it pairs really well with Greninja in my opinion, I thought I should grab it, and I took the mascot pick, Nidoking. Nidoking mostly is a good reliable wall breaker in my opinion, because it gets the sheer force ability as well, which boosts mostly the special move that it has, but also has quite a good move pool to run a physical set. So potentially I could mix Nidoking with Life Orb if I wanted to, because Nidoking does not take damage from Life Orb either. So that's also a really good thing. So Sheer Force allows me to get rid of the side effects from moves, and then actually strike back with the move only with a bit more base power. So you could compare it to basically sort of Stab, and then also it gets the Life Orb boost still at the same time. So it's really a good, reliable wall breaker. Also has access to Stealth Rock and to Toxic Spikes, which I really like. And it's also Toxic Spike Absorber. Since I do not have Protean Greninja, I cannot absorb the Toxic Spikes if I wanted to. So, Nidoking, a really good mon, and I really wanted to try this counterpart of Nidoqueen. Since I'm really familiar with Nidoqueen, I thought let me try Nidoking and see how far that will go. Nidoking is just as Greninja, there's a lot of versatility. It is not a Z user for me though, but still, I think it's a really good addition, and it has a lot of moves that I could abuse if I wanted to. And also the fact that it is a poison type, I can never miss Toxic, so everyone, if I'm on a Toxic stall, you Nidoking will Toxic you all. So, moving on further, was not too long again before I could pick again, and I was really thinking about what I should get as my 6th overall pick to really complement my team, and I was looking for something that would finish the type synergy for now so that I had no current weaknesses. So I was really looking towards the team, and I was like, you know, a good grass type right now would work well, and now I can end up my Fire Water Gliscor in the next 2 rounds if I wanted to. So I was thinking what grass type would fit the team, and I decided that I was going to grab Breloom, because it has been a freaking while since I could actually use this. I used this just in Pokemon Showdown Lives and whatnot, and just on the ladder, but never in Draft League format, so I'm really curious to see what Breloom can do. Really due to the Technician ability with, for example, Bullet Seed and whatnot, and Hidden Powers again, and just those weaker moves like, for example, Technician boosted Mach Punch, really made me happy to actually draft it, and also have the access to Spore, which is a 100% sleeping move, which is also a really good benefit for me. And even if I want, for example, a defensive Breloom, I would be able to, because Breloom also gets access to Poison Heal. So depending on the week, I could make it with Poison Heal variant with Toxic, or switch it in on my Toxic if I predict that, and get some recovery over the next couple turns. So, Breloom is a really good mon in my opinion, has a lot of good stabs in grass of fighting, and fighting types are really good in Draft League, I find personally, so I think Breloom can really shine here if it really wants to. So, that's it for Breloom, and let's move on. Alright, so next up, I already mentioned when I was talking about Breloom that I wanted to complete my my Fire Water Gliscor. I was looking at some fire types and whatnot, and I was like, you know, Darmanitan does not really float my boat, because Darmanitan could be a reliable wall breaker, but at the same time, I do not really like the base 95 speed and whatnot, and that it has to lock himself into the move Flare Blitz, most likely to be the most effective as a wall breaker. So I looked further, and I recognized that there was still a mon free that I used in Season 3 of the Alola International, and since it has been on the championship team from my end, I knew that I wanted to draft it, and I want to welcome back Entei. So Entei, the reason why I drafted is mostly because the wall break capability of Choice Dance Sacred Fire, especially since Adamant Entei is good, but you're not forced to use Sacred Fire Entei with a Adamant nature. You can also run a Jolly nature if you wanted to. Just extreme speed, for example, makes you want to run the Adamant nature, else it's not legal. So, also this means that my Fire Water Gliscor currently has 3 priority moves in Mach Punch, Water Shuriken, and Extreme Speed. So that's good priority overall, and you can never have too much priority on a normal team. So that's also really good. Also, the fact that I could run a Choice Band Flare Blitz is an option, but Sacred Fire is the biggest one. And also the fact that I could run a Choice Specs Eruption set with a Timid nature and max speed, that could work out as well. I did that in Season 3 as well, and I really liked how that turned out. And I probably would like to welcome Entei back right now, and have another great season to see if we can pick up another championship this season. So moving on a bit further, like towards 8th pick or so, I thought maybe it was a good idea to now look at an electric resist, and also look potentially at the ghost type. So since I was also checking out what tiers I could pick from, at this point in time I could still pick a tier 4, a tier 3, and 2 tier 5s if I wanted to. I could also grab 3 tier... No, I couldn't. I could also maybe see what I could do if I, for example, downgraded my Entei. Then I would have a better option for it potentially later on, but I think this draft is overall really solid. Anyway, I'm drifting off a bit, but I was looking for an electric type and a ghost type, and I thought, who is no better match for that than Rotom? I was not literally looking for an electric ghost type, but electric or ghost would have worked for me, but electric ghost in my opinion is really good, especially since Rotom is one of the faster ghosts that I do not want to deal with for my opponent, because Rotom could be very bad for myself personally to actually deal with. So I'd rather have it myself than I let somebody else have it and then be annoying against me later on. So it's an electric type with Levitate, and that gives me still a dark weakness. It gives me a ghost weakness, but I still have a good stab in Shadow Ball and Thunderbolt if I need to. I have access to screens if I wanted to, I have defog to my potential, and also I have Volt Switch, which means I can now round up my Volturn core. Rotom as my Volturn core right now with base 91 speeds is really good for monsters that I have on my team like Clefable, Scizor, Bloom, and Entei as an example. That's really good and also helps me versus the Hazard Stack option that I had earlier on mentioned from Nidoking and Greninja. So that is Rotom, and I was still looking sort of at a spinner, but then I was like, maybe I prefer a spin blocker more over a spinner if I wanted to bring Hazard Stack, because if they do not bring a defogger, then it's pretty much KO for them, because I have a lot of moves is Spikes, Toxic Spikes, and Stealth Rock. Anyway, that's it for Rotom, and let's move on. So next up, there's coming up a Mon, and I never really used, and I really never looked at, because in my opinion, it is quite a bit overlooked, and I do not really know what tier it is. I believe it's NU, but I think in the Draft League format that it could be better than in the NU tier, because now you can counter team pretty much if you wanted to. So I was looking through the tiers, and I saw that I wanted a ground immunity now, not relying on Levitate. It's good that I have two Levitate users, but if I run into a Terravolt Mon, or potentially into a Mold Breaker Mon, I have quite of an issue, so I wanted a flying type. I also decided that I wanted potentially something that killed rocks if I was able to, but flying rock types are really hard to come by outside of mons like Aerodactyl and Archeops, and then this Mon. I did not feel the need for Archeops because I really do not like the Mon due to the fetus sort of. Aerodactyl, I used it, but it doesn't really float my boat, so I decided to try this one out and I drafted Minior. So Minior, as people would know, has two forms. It has its Meteor form and then its Core form. And what Minior most likely does is with its Shields Down ability, is that it slows down in its Meteor form, gets a bit of defenses because then it gives base 100 defenses, and then when it Shields Down activates where it shows its Core, then you will see that it has base 100 attack and base 100 special attack. What does this mean, people? This means that I now have a wall breaker / setup sweeper on my team. If I would set up with a Shell Smash, with a White Herb, I can break teams, especially if I have a Hazard Stack. If I do not feel like I should run an offensive Minior, I might as well also run a sort of suicide lead idea. Like for example, Minior can still run, for example, the Stealth Rock and the support move, and then for example a couple other moves. And also, this also helps me with a Volturn core as well, because Minior gets access to U-turn as well, which is in my opinion really good. It gives me more ability to actually potentially sweep with it if I wanted to. Is it good if I'm set up? Not that much, but I think it's worth it, especially since I also would have access to Explosion and Endeavor as highlight moves in my opinion. Especially since the fact that I can run a physical or special is one thing that I really like, so that's 1+ for me. And guys, you already know it, I'm gonna run this bad boy purple, because purple Minior should be the best, and purple is the highlight of this channel, so that's what I'm going for. Anyway, let's continue on forward. So now my last two Z-move users come in, and those are from tier 5, and you can question this, but I just wanted to have fun, and I'm gonna announce you the first one, and the first one that I drafted is Perukli. Perukli, never used it, never saw it being used, but a good friend of mine, the Flying Bird, recommended it to me, and after I looked at his stats and then the move pool that it got and its abilities, I was like, okay, this may be worth it. It has Stab Fake Out, it has base 112 speed, so it's good for speed tiering. It has U-turn as well. It has Stick Fat as his ability, and also its own tempo, so it cannot be confused, and it also has Defiant. So if you want to defog away my hazards, you're gonna deal with a Perukli that potentially can run a Z move on you as well. So you need to just keep that in mind for a moment right now. But anyway, Perukli, never used it as I mentioned, but I'm really excited for it to use it. It's a really odd mon, but I like a challenge, and I think Perukli could really do some good stuff on the team. Anyway, not really much to say because I do not know the mon too well, but let's move on to our last pick. So for the last pick, I decided I wanted a good stealth rocker and whatnot, and then I also wanted to see something that was not gonna give me too many weaknesses that I already had. So like for example, was like Golurk fell off and whatnot, and I wanted a reliable rock setter mostly, and I was not thinking about duplicating my ground typing or whatever. So I was also looking at mons like Regice to gain a bit more specially defensive bulk, but then in the end, Flying Bird already gave me another tip to actually draft Piloswine. The reason he told me that I should draft Piloswine is because of the bulk that it gets from Violite. It almost guarantees rocks every time, and also the Tick Fat is really good on it. and also Oblivious also makes it that I cannot get taunted. Does that mean that I run Oblivious each week? No, it does not. But you could prepare for it. Like Oblivious makes me that I cannot get taunted, so I'm guaranteed rocks always. I have priority Ice Shard, I have base 100 Earthquake, and I still have Freeze Dry for water types if I feel like it. I also have Avalanche because I'm a bit slower, but then again I also have a lot of good moves in my that I see right now that I could use. And also Piloswine is a Z user on my squad this season because I had the points left, and I was like, why not do it and potentially have the option? It's better to have the option and never use it than have not the option and regret it later, but that was my opinion. Anyway, this concludes my full draft for the Alola International, and I talked through every pick that I currently have, what my thought process was behind it. Some are more longer than the others, but some I'm not too familiar with, so that's why. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you're hyped that we are back, please slap that like button down below, subscribe if you're new, and please share this video with a couple of friends if you wanted to, so we can spread some more Iron Ball love from the GroundedGliscor around. So again, I'm just going to upload Draftly content from now on, and that may change in the future, but for now I'm not going to change it, and this stays how it's going to stay. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching to me for about half an hour, and then the battles for the Alola International are going to start very soon. They are going to start actually next week, because now it's currently around the 7th or the 8th we decided to upload this draft analysis, but then the week 1 battle should go up the week after, so you can prepare for that. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, whatever I'm going to make. I will see you next time, everyone, and thanks again. Bye!